Hey there, welcome to the Marketing Happy Hour podcast, where each week we're learning career-defining advice, powerful social media strategies, unique creative tips, groundbreaking influencer marketing tactics, and more from marketing experts that represent some of the world's leading brands. Let's dive in. Grab a drink and join your hosts, Cassie and Erica, for this week's episode. Hey everyone, it's Cassie. I want to give you a peek at today's episode by teasing a free PR tool that Hannah and I discuss in today's interview. That's right, I said free, and let me tell you that both Hannah and I have found success using this tool in both of our businesses. HARO, or Help a Reporter Out, is your opportunity to land press features and guest blog or article posts. It's a great way to align yourself or your brand as a thought leader in your industry. While HARO does take some effort on your end, there are a few simple ways to make it work for you. Number one, be prepared to move quickly. When you receive the press queries in your inbox for the first time, you may notice that some of the submission deadlines don't give you a lot of time to send in your pitch. It's important to act quickly with your response in order to get in front of the reporters. Number two, create engaging subject lines. Reporters receive hundreds and even thousands of emails a day from brands. Call the publication or specific reporter out in your headline and use text that's snappy and relevant to your submission topic. Number three, share unique thoughts and ideas. Like I said, reporters receive a lot of submissions every single day. It's important to share ideas that aren't redundant or common. You can look for redundant responses by doing a Google search on your topic and omitting repetitive thoughts you find online. No matter how big or small your business is, HARO is an excellent tool that I highly recommend. We'll learn about Hannah Pobar's success with the tool here shortly.
Hey everyone, it's Erica, and this week we're chatting with Hannah Pobar, the founder of Home Studio List, which is a platform of styled homes in over 30 states that are available to rent for photo shoots, film productions, and content creation. What a fun concept. Hannah shares organic social media efforts that will grow your business, how to build a six-figure brand all on your own, the importance of delegating, and why building connections with your online audience is essential for growth. Grab a drink and listen in with us.
Hey Hannah, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you?
I am doing so well. I am so excited to jump into this conversation with you and chat all things Home Studio List. But before we do that, we do have a very important question that we ask all of our guests because this is Marketing Happy Hour. But Hannah, what is in your glass tonight?
I love it. Yes, I'm always up for a drink. So this is really fun to be here with you today. Right now, truly, I'm drinking a black coffee. It's the holiday season, just trying to keep that energy up so we can get through the rest of this year. What about you?
I am just drinking water. I have to have water on my desk throughout the day or else I will not drink it. I'm very bad at drinking water. So I am just going to sip on this all day and maybe even refill it. But it's kind of boring, but that's all I have today.
No, I look at us today. So productive.
Yes.
We're really getting into the New Year's spirit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I feel like my water, or like if I have a cool water bottle, that really inspires me. So I do have water here as well. But
Yes.
that definitely inspires me to keep drinking the water.
I know. I was just telling you kind of off record, but we just moved. So I have cool water bottles somewhere. I have not unpacked them yet, but once I find them, that generally does help me too. Just refilling that throughout the day. So I love that. It's a good little health tip to throw in here to Marketing Happy Hour. That is awesome. So can you start by telling us a little bit about Home Studio List and your experience building the company?
Yeah, absolutely. So Home Studio List is a platform of real homes available to rent by the hour for photo shoots, film productions, and content creation. I like to say you can think of us like the Airbnb for content creation. So we have this two-sided marketplace of hosts who rent their homes, guests who utilize a real home environment for a production. And the company is about 5 years old. So it's crazy to be here so many years in and see the evolution of the company go from a little, side project into the company that it is today. no small feat in that. I bootstrapped the company, so we had no investment in the early days, and today we have a profitable business that's generated millions of dollars in reservation requests, and it's been such a cool ride.
That is so awesome. So we've seen you been featured, in Forbes, Dwell, Vogue, and that is so incredible. And it's funny because we were just chatting about PR again off record earlier today. But what are some of your best tips when it comes to PR pitches?
Yeah, PR has been something that naturally in the beginning kind of flowed into our experience. And so, um, in the early days, we were getting some, just organic requests coming in, which was really cool. And obviously, in the early days, that's so inspiring. You really want to get the word out there. You want people to be, knowing that your company exists and how they can utilize it. So, have always kind of had this like sensitivity to PR. When it's not coming organically, something that I love is a platform called Help a Reporter Out. It's Haro, I believe, Haro. Essentially, it's an email list serve where reporters are out there putting out questions or looking for people to feature. And so you get a daily list serve in an email format in which you're able to see all these questions and reply to ones that make sense for your company. So it's a really easy way to connect with reporters out there, get the word out about your company, speak to your expertise. And that's been super helpful for us. I probably once or twice a week look through the email listserv and start replying to things that would be relevant for our consumers, which are going to be in the home decor space or like content creation, photographers. And we've gotten a lot of great press through those connections.
Yeah, absolutely. I am a huge fan of Haro. I actually just got a hit for a client this morning, which I was so excited about. And it's something that's it's very rewarding because whether it's you or a VA or someone kind of filling out those forms, it's kind of your team managing it. It's not an outside, company or an agency, which is awesome too. But it's a little bit more rewarding, I feel like, because it's very involving for your team. But how do you feel, PR for yourself as well? So you're doing this interview, you're talking about your business. How do you feel kind of putting yourself out there and getting your face known to people on social media? How important do you feel that is as well?
That's such an interesting question, and it's fun to discuss this, I think, because I've been thinking about this a lot. As the new year's is here and coming, want to make sure we're trying new like marketing efforts, and so this is very much one of them. But I will say that I got into Home Studio List. There's a whole like path dependency to get to where we are today, but initially I was interested in content creation through blogging. So I started blogging over 10 years ago. That is crazy to say. And really loved, this digital format of, having a place to take photos and like express myself creatively. And so for years I was a blogger and put a lot of time and energy into that. That eventually led me to photography. And so I started pursuing photography as a career, and I built a business. I put myself through college shooting weddings and portraits and anything that anyone would pay me to shoot. And photography then led me to the wedding industry. The wedding industry led me to startups. I worked in San Francisco in startups for years. And then through a culmination of all of those things, arrived at Home Studio List. So in the early days, blogging, everything was very much about my personal brand, and my face was on everything. And when I started Home Studio List, I actually wanted this to be completely separate and like agnostic of my identity. And it was really fun to have a new challenge. And I don't think there's a right or wrong way to do it. But it was interesting in the early days. I really didn't want the company to be about me. I wanted it to be about our service. And obviously, that's the heartbeat of our company. But I will say that I'm almost back full circle where I've realized that people want to connect personally with the companies and the services and the brands that they use. And, that personalized touch has always been something that's been in the background of Home Studio List in our emails, in our communication with clients, and, our processes. But I think in the coming year, I have decided to take the plunge and get back out there and be more, a face for the brand for sure. So it's it's been an interesting evolution.
Yeah, definitely. And, you talked a little bit about team, and this is something I'm personally going through in my journey with building a business is just when is the right time to really start building out the team more and adding more support and things that kind of draw back to your bottom line. But what was that journey like for you? What was that kind of like spark in your mind that led you to wanting to create Home Studio List, something a little bit bigger, add more team members, add more processes, that kind of thing? What was that journey like for you?
Yeah, like going back to the photography days, I had built this business in college and I, had grown it. And so I was like, okay, on my own, I've been able to build this, $100,000 company. Like, how do I take that to the next level? Like, what does it take to have $1 million company? And so I eventually pursued a career in startups, and there I was, working at a company that had raised millions of dollars. It was operating at a scale that was unlike anything I knew how to achieve on my own. And so was really just soaking up all of that learning experience. And so by the time I started Home Studio List, I was working full time at the time. And so I started Home Studio List as a project, really, and like a side hustle. And I was experimenting with the idea of renting my own apartment to photographers. I had that network, I had that interest. I figured my space had beautiful natural light. It would probably be interesting to photographers. And it was. In a matter of months, I was making thousands of dollars letting companies into my home while I would go to my office for the day. And so started, I had tested that for a year, and then decided to build the platform so that other people could work with brands in a similar capacity to how I had. And then as that grew, obviously needed to bring on additional people to the team. And I don't know if there was necessarily a moment that it was more just like an evolution of first, I started the company just with things that I had, and I built our own website. I had been learning and working, on websites and HTML and CSS and all of that since I was a kid. And so this was kind of like the moment that I just brought everything together and was able to start it with what I had, continue to grow it. And then I think my job in like the role that I have in the company now is I'm very much focused on trying new things, building them up, kind of validating that that project or that marketing effort is going to be profitable within a matter of a few months, and then institutionalizing that into a process and giving it to somebody else to run. So I think just we've bootstrapped this business, and so like profitability is really important to me. So I'm very much focused on how do we spin up new things, create processes around them, and then pass that off to somebody else so that my time can be used to go find that next nugget that's going to be beneficial to us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's something that, a lot of business owners, especially people who are new to creating a business, kind of struggle with is that moment where they decide to start passing things off to people
Mhm.
and delegating and, creating those SOPs or, things that they can kind of have internally for other people to kind of take on different tasks. But that's so important. And that frees up time for you to do things like this to promote the brand, to get the word out about there. So it's something so simple, but it's something so invaluable that, a lot of people, like I said, do struggle with, but once they start doing it, I'm sure it's been so beneficial to you as well.
Yeah, that was something I had never experienced was, hiring a team and building the team. And so I will say it wasn't always the easiest in the early days, and I'm still, learning. And I feel so grateful for like such a supportive team who totally has my back. And there's a lot of, I think when you're a solo founder, there's a lot of um, anxieties might be too strong of a word, but there's just sensitivity because you've really touched every aspect of the company, and I think you approach things with a founder level dedication and mentality that sometimes can be difficult to find when you also don't have maybe the cash flow or the resources to hire like you might if you have like venture funding or something like that. So it's definitely challenging, but it's so important, and that's the only way to truly be able to scale, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go kind of back to the beginning of Home Studio List. What were some of the things that you did to initially spread the word about the business? And what marketing tactics have worked for you either in the past or are currently working in scaling the marketing platform as well?
Yeah, so early days, we did not have, necessarily like the cash flow and resources to be out there spending money on Facebook and Instagram ads and having these like very targeted marketing approaches. And so something that was really effective for us early on was just straight up cold outreach. So we were, daily sending emails, pulling our own lists, like scraping Google, and really curating different personas and like groups of users that we could be reaching out to with cold emails, with direct messages, with messages on LinkedIn. I mean, you name it, we were all over it. And in terms of like social media. And kind of just going back to that, initially that was me. Like I would wake up in the morning, go to a coffee shop, go send out a bunch of emails before I would go to my full-time job, and I was just doing that and like learning what worked and what didn't work, and starting to formalize some like really low level tests in the early days around like what kind of messaging worked well. And for me, I think kind of just going full circle over a conversation here, is what was really effective was just a really highly personalized message. And I think over the years, I've just learned to lean into like my authentic personality, and that seems to derive the best benefit anyways. And so it's cool because that's, naturally, I think, how I speak and how I am. And in the early days, I thought, oh, that's not professional enough. Maybe I need, this like sales copy that's going to, convert people better. And in testing actually found that the just more personal we were, the better things performed. And so that was really cool to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so many trends nowadays with businesses becoming more personal in their messages and in their experiences. And it's really working with businesses. And it's businesses have seen such huge benefit to that. So the more that businesses can kind of hone in on that personal touch, like you said, because people want to connect with people personally. People don't connect with a brand or a business itself. It's that personal touch behind it. It's the people behind it that they really connect with. So I think that is so huge. So have you guys dabbled in influencer marketing at all, or what's kind of your experience there as well?
Yeah, not too, I wouldn't say like traditional influencer marketing. Organic social, though, is huge for us. And social has always been one of our biggest traffic drivers. And honestly, I don't have any like fancy tricks there necessarily, but just showing up consistently. Like we have made it, such a part of our process to always be like cultivating that community. Community is really at the heartbeat of everything that we do at Home Studio List. And so we're showing up consistently. We're engaging with our followers through comments, direct messages, keeping, those relationships really like tight, and, making people feel special as much as we can.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. You're a female founder. What are some of the challenges that you faced in building the business as a female founder, and how have you worked to overcome those challenges?
Yeah, it's so interesting because honestly, I don't personally feel like I run into challenge specifically because I'm a female founder. And I'm not saying that disparity there doesn't exist, but I think my mental model is such that you will always find evidence for what you're looking for. And so to think positively and see my experience as who I am, as a unique opportunity, really has benefited me and the business. And it kind of comes back to, I think, you create your own reality, right? And so either way, for any founder, I think there's just such a unique experience. And I think overall, we see that female founders make up less than 3% of all venture capital money. And that went down even in the pandemic. So I think due in part to, that disparity specifically, you see a lot more women like me turning to bootstrapping, which is a big undertaking, to not have investment and to be pulling all these resources together with what you have and using like your current cash flow to make it happen. But while difficult, I think it's afforded me so much in that I write the rules for my company. I don't have to pay attention to those disparities. They really don't affect my day to day. I don't have to put on a show for anyone or prove anything to anyone. I'm just out here kind of doing me and doing what's right for my team and my company based on my values. So I think in the early days, I was very aware of those things, and I would, or just those particular disparities, and I was paying attention to them. And I think as my company has grown, I've been able to just kind of put blinders onto it because I don't have to engage if I don't want to. And I've really found a lot of freedom in being like just totally myself, and in knowing that there's power and it resonates with my customers when I'm just who I am. And I use a lot of exclamation points. Like, I have a lot of joy in my life, and I hope that that transcends into our relationships with our hosts and our guests. And I think it does, and it's cool to see that personality reflect back in the company and actually build the company.
It's so funny you mentioned the exclamation points, because I catch myself when I write emails to certain people or clients, I'll write an exclamation point and then the next sentence exclamation point. And I find myself like second guessing myself. It's so silly, but I look at it and I'm like, oh, that's too many. Like, I need to remove it. I need to put a period instead. And it's like, you're right. Just kind of doing you, being who you are, and whether it's written communication or video, photo, just letting yourself kind of be represented through your writing or through your content creation. I think that's so important. Even something as little as an exclamation point too many in a sentence. So I love that you mentioned that. Do you have any founders that you currently look up to or have looked up to in the past when kind of building out your career?
Yeah, I totally am with you though on that. And I think you just have to like embrace who you are and not be self-conscious of that in any way. And I feel that early on I was, and that always had me second guessing. And now I'm like, I lead with the fun parts of my personality, and the people who get it, and the people who don't, doesn't matter, But
Absolutely.
yes, I have had incredible mentorship from both women and men throughout my career. But I do think that, there is something really special about the women in my life who are founders or who have had, amazing career success. And I'm so grateful for the time and talent that they've given back into helping me develop personally, professionally, develop my company. So it never goes unnoticed. And I think giving back in that way is also super important to me. And at Home Studio List, we've designed programs around that concept too. We have an incredible internship program that we started in COVID that really is focused on helping people break into a new career. And so, we give opportunities for experience and like portfolio building for different areas of a business that people might want to break into that are traditionally kind of defined by the past work that you have to show. So I think a lot of that is like social media management, virtual assisting. We have like a really cool UI UX and automation program. So it's cool to see. It's cool to be able to help develop people in that way as well through the vessel of Home Studio List.
Is there any podcasts, books you recommend, anything that you're loving right now or have enjoyed in the past?
Ooh, that's a good question. Yeah, there are some books that I love. I love all Malcolm Gladwell books. I think he's an incredible writer, and I love the way that he really brings psychology and like business concepts together. I think I'm a big business book person, so always reading something in that area. But I think I really especially appreciate that like mix of psychology that he brings. And there's so many cool like anecdotal stories that he pulls in that like really help you remember these concepts specifically. So one that I love by him is What the Dog Saw. That like comes to mind as an immediate favorite. I'm trying to think on the podcast side. I really am into, while it's not per se business related, I think it's like life and inspiration related. I am a big Abraham Hicks proponent, and her area is the law of attraction. And so I think, whenever I'm just having a moment, it's always nice to put on some Abraham Hicks, go on a walk, like really reset and focus back on like getting into that flow of inspiration. She talks about that a lot. And I think as it applies to business too, momentum is so important. And so however you find momentum and get yourself in that like source of inspiration flowing, like however you need to get there, get there. And so for me, that always takes me into that place for sure.
Oh, that's so great. I will be looking those up because I've not listened to her podcast or read any of his books. So I will definitely be doing that. So thanks for sharing. So, what is next for Home Studio List and for you personally? Do you have any exciting projects coming up in 2022 or what's happening for you guys?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a huge year. Coming out of the pandemic, we grew like crazy. So this year, we're just focused on keeping up with that. We are growing our platform and we are looking to work with new hosts all throughout the US. So if you have a beautifully styled home or have a friend who would be a good fit, we would love to have them apply. You can do so at homestudiolist.com/host. Same thing on the creative side. We are growing our guest community as well. If you're ever in need of a beautiful space for content creation, a photo shoot, a place to record a podcast, you name it, we work with businesses large and small. So would love to team up and help bring a creative production to life. You can browse all of our listings. We have over 800 in pretty much every state. For the past couple of years, I've been saying we have spaces in 30 plus states, and I counted the other day and it's like 45 states. So I think there's a
Oh.
couple that we're still missing there. But yeah, in 2022, we'll definitely be rounding that out and taking over the US. But yeah, those are the big, I mean, really just focus this year on growth and doubling down on what's working. And so for us, we see so much on social. And so really gonna dive into that this year and hopefully continue to see improvement there.
Well, congratulations so far on the success. We're so excited to watch you guys continue to thrive and just do a bunch of exciting things in the near future. But before we close out, we do have one last question that we love to ask all of our guests. Is there anything you know now that you wish you knew early on in your career?
Yeah, we touched on this a little bit, but when I started Home Studio List, I was living in San Francisco, and that's the tech mecca of the world. There are so many startups there. It's very competitive, and I think in the early days, I really thought about that a lot, and I really was focused on participating in that competition, and I wanted to stand out, and I found it very difficult to in such a saturated place. And so looking back, I'm really grateful for that experience, because while I felt that I maybe necessarily wasn't at the same level as some of these other startups out there, I really realize now that none of that matters. Like, every journey is different. No two things work exactly the same. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to, have to embrace that mistake and learn from it and move on. And I think I was very fixated on fitting in, and wanting to stand out, instead of just embracing my like unique journey. And so I'm grateful for the experience, and I have loved what I've built, and excited to continue on the path.
Excellent. Well, we would love to know where we can follow you and Home Studio List. So, any handles you want to share, anywhere we can find both you and your business on social media so that we can spread the word about you and make sure everyone follows you guys online.
Totally. Our website is homestudiolist.com. We are on Instagram at homestudiolist, and my personal Instagram is at Hannah Pobar. I'm always down to connect and help in any way that I can. So would love to chat.
Well, thank you so much, Hannah. I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me. It was such a wonderful conversation, and can't wait to see what you're up to next.
Thank you so much. Loved chatting and excited to keep in touch.
Hannah's story is just incredible, and we are so thankful that she was able to join us on the podcast. If you would like to be a future Marketing Happy Hour podcast guest, follow us on Instagram at Marketing Happy Hour. That's at Marketing Happy HR, and click the link in our bio. We can't wait to meet you. If you're loving the podcast, please remember to rate and leave a review. It truly means the world to us and helps us continue producing the content you want to hear. Thanks so much for listening.